This is the Medford Praetorian, a beautiful semi-custom knife with stunning titanium scales, flamed titanium hardware, and a robust Tanto blade made of CPM 3V steel. To complement this absolute unit of a knife, I added a similarly massive titanium droid bead from TI Survival, threaded with moss green paracord, using my favorite technique. Hey everyone, welcome to Salvo EDC. I was shocked when I learned that Medford Knife Tool officially discontinued the legendary Praetorian family. The Praetorian lineup was sunsetted in 2024, meaning production of this model has ceased, including the Praetorian T, TI, and Genesis variants as well. Which means if you can find any of these knives at retailers, they are the last of their kind. And if they are gone forever. This news broke my heart, as one of my biggest hobbies was watching new Medford Praetorians come out every single week and just admire their beauty through my MacBook screen. And I'm not into telly shows, but if I was, the closest thing would be my favorite series being cancelled. It really took me as a cold shower, since I'm a giant Medford fanatic, and for me this discontinuation marks the end of an era. If the Para 3 equals a Glock 19 and the PM2 equals a Glock 17, then the Medford Praetorian is the gold-plated Desert Eagle of the knife industry. It's like the difference between a Rolex and a quartz watch. Sure, both tell the same time, but a Rolex has something special about it. The same holds true for mass-produced pocket knives versus the Medford Praetorian, as this knife has its own unique personality. It happened to me somewhere around 4 to 5 years ago, when the Medford bug bit me and I got obsessed with this company. I watched all their YouTube videos, followed their social media, and analyzed every single release they had. It might come across cringe, but low-key, I became a giant Medford nerd. As I learned more about their designs, I really started to like this company, and eventually I became familiar with all their milling patterns, blade steels, coatings, colors, everything, so I knew exactly what I wanted to buy, and I patiently waited until I found the one knife that matched my description perfectly. The Praetorian Tanto was love at first sight for me. It has this raw, prehistoric vibe. It looks like an object from the age of the dinosaurs, which makes it super unique. But even though I was itching to buy one, I had to wait for the perfect configuration. I wanted the bark finish, with the combination of Violet and Bronze Anodization on the titanium scales, with a tumbled blade and glass breaker. I specifically chose the tumbled blade over PVD for two reasons. First, I love the deep grey color of raw steel. Second, Medford pairs their PVD coated blades with shiny steel tolerance pieces, which annoys me, as they look mismatched. I also wanted to avoid the Vulcan finish, because I wanted to use and abuse this knife, and I knew if I had a super expensive, highly decorative Vulcan blade, I'd probably baby it. On the other hand, with this tumbled Tanto blade, I don't have to worry about anything. It will always look the same, and after almost 2 years of heavy use, my Praetorian has never failed me. It's built like a tank, super chunky in all the right ways. Every Medford is unique, by the way, so finding the right one isn't as simple as adding it to your cart and hitting checkout. At least it wasn't for me. I always wanted a knife that I would never sell, one I could truly bond with. So I was on the fence about getting one for over 2 years. Mine has the serial number of 201-354 discreetly engraved on the blade where the scales hide it, a perfect placement in my opinion. I hate when Medford billboards the middle of their blades with deep engravings, it annoys me, so I was very happy to have one that looks a bit more refined than the others. My knife arrived in its own Medford box, complete with this awesome Velcro patch, and of course this pretty cool sticker. Plus it also has its own university degree, so this knife is smarter than most of us. I always keep this box close, because when I travel for work, my Praetorian has a prime spot in my checked bag. And honestly speaking, I refuse to visit communist gay fucking countries where this knife is not legal. Ironically, I ordered my Medford from DLT Trading while I was staying in Europe, and after tariffs I paid over $1,500 for it. You can imagine my sky-high expectations for a knife that was this expensive, and I was really anxious about my purchase, but after I received it, this knife exceeded even my wildest expectations. From the very first moment, I'm in love with it. I was never a car guy, so probably this is how some guys feel about their trucks, but I also have a friend who whispers things to his 500 Smith & Wesson. Anyway, I would describe the Praetorian as a gentle giant, smooth action, rock-solid lockup, tactile detent, crafted with premium materials to the highest standards. Probably my favorite unique feature on this knife is the external stop pin that allows the knife's open construction and even easier cleaning. Plus it makes the Praetorian freakishly strong. I have never seen tolerances like these on a foldable pocket knife, but this blade has literally zero play. On any other knife, I can push the blade into the side of the scales with very little effort when the knife's closed, but in the case of the Medford Praetorian, the blade refuses to move sideways, which is crazy. And if I already started this Medford versus Planet Earth kind of talk, I have to be honest with you, every single knife in my collection disappointed me in certain ways, with the exception of this one. The Praetorian never ever gave me a yuck moment, which is a huge compliment from the guy who could rant about the Spyderco PM2 for a whole 7 minutes and 20 seconds. By the way, this video took me an insane amount of time to film and edit, so please reward me with a like, and you can also subscribe if you wanna see many more cool knives. One of my other favorite things about the Medford Praetorian is the fuller opener that I never really see on pocket knives, maybe because other knives have considerably less spine thickness, so instead of the fuller, they come with a full-on cutout, which makes their blades significantly weaker. If you see Spyderco knives snap for example, 99% of the time they break around the opening hole, so I really enjoy having this knife that has the toughness of a pry bar. Supernatural toughness is also true for the scales and the hardware pieces, as Medford uses a stronger type of titanium compared to many other knife companies. I remember hearing Rex talk about their titanium sourcing issue while their automatic OTF was in prototype phase, which was also the moment when I realized how much pain I had throughout the years, since 2 out of my every 3 knives have an issue either with stripped screws or bent pocket clips. And even though this knife was stupid expensive, I paid around $1,500 for it, I still don't think it was overpriced, because unlike other products, this knife is dead reliable. And I have a couple of quote-unquote favorite knives, but they all suck in certain ways, meanwhile this Medford never disappoints. My only minor cosmetic criticism is that the frame lock leaves a mark on the blade, since when the knife's closed, the titanium bites into the steel. This would have been a lot more annoying if the blade had a PVD coating or a Vulcan finish, but a natural steel you could probably spot it only because I told you. But now let's talk about art, because in my opinion, this anodized bark finish is super sexy. I really like the purple base color with the bronze milled grooves, plus the brushed and flamed hardware. For some people, this might be a little too much, but for me, this combo makes a magical synergy of colors. As I dance the knife around, the titanium grip breaks the light in different ways, which reminds me of sandy dunes in an endless desert as they cast their shadows during sunset. Medford gave us the perfect example how a pocket knife can turn into man jewelry or a great conversation piece. Every time I show this Praetorian to knife nerds, they go crazy for it. The anodized titanium scales in real life are genuinely mesmerizing, which makes this knife a piece of art as much as a functional tool. When I was shopping for a bark finish, I was very specific and I wanted the scale to be milled horizontally and not vertically, as vertical milling creates hot spots, which is fine with softer scale materials such as micarta, but super painful with milled titanium. So I definitely wanted a knife that has horizontal machining, and as a result my Praetorian is super comfy to squeeze, and the only place where I feel hot spots is at the top across the jimping. Generally speaking, I really like big knives. My most carried blade this year is a Spyderco Military, and I always had a dislike towards smaller knives. However, large blades usually come with the problem that they are not robust enough, and for this reason, I could never truly trust myself on a long and sleek blade in situations when I expect the unexpected. For this reason, I always wanted to have a folder knife for the apocalypse. Most knife people carry a cold steel 8010 for example, which knife also has a version with 3V steel and titanium scales by the way. And the only functional difference between the two is that the Medford also comes with a glass breaker. These heavy duty knives don't make me feel that I have folder knife limitations, unlike many other pocket knives with flimsy handle scales, tiny body screws or unreliable locking mechanisms. And this is exactly why I can still recommend getting a Praetorian. My exact variant is called Medford Praetorian T Tanto, where the T in the middle means the actual size and the thickness of this knife. And for me personally, this is the best possible configuration. I really dislike Medford's Genesis series for example, as they are too small for my hand. There's also a thicker version, called T Tanto, which might be very easy to confuse with this one, and I also dislike those knives because they come with super weird pocket clips and their level of chunkiness is not on the useful side anymore. This exact Praetorian T version is my big favorite because its level of thickness is still very practical. And people who say that the Praetorian is not a good slicer probably had bad experiences before with Tanto knives, because this knife cuts really well actually. Tanto is my favorite blade shape in the universe, because it's capable of a lot of things if it is done well. And it drives me crazy when knife companies ruin it by putting the same uniform grind angle on the two sides like they did on my production Quayback, or if companies put a full flat grind on it like Benchmade did on the bailout, which straight up gave me goosebumps when I first looked at it. Probably nothing on earth makes me mad like a poorly executed Tanto knife, and for this very reason I'm extremely happy, because Medford used the perfect philosophy and crazy precision. This blade is flawlessly symmetrical, has a super slicey hollow grind, and a brutally robust tip. My Praetorian has a Japanese Tanto, by the way, since the tip has a slight belly. If the tip was completely straight, it would have been an American Tanto, and I'm happy Medford picked the Japanese version for this knife, because this slight belly makes this blade shape a lot better for scooping things up. I cooked with this knife quite a bit when I was moving less here, plus I also used it to punch open canned food, and CPM 3V did an amazing job in those situations. This is an extremely cool blade steel, mostly famous for its incredible toughness, but it also features a very respectable amount of edge retention, plus it's also stainless. In my opinion, CPM 3V is the #1 super steel for a zombie apocalypse, as it combines low maintenance with high performance, and it is virtually indestructible. Normally, I prefer this material on my beater fixed blades like this Phobosolaris, but it also fits the Medford Praetorian, as this knife is so robust that it feels like a legit fixed blade. If I really think about it, 3V was probably the best choice for a Praetorian Tanto, since I would definitely not put stuff like S90V or 20CV on a blade like this, because the grind wouldn't take advantage of their properties. My only criticism toward these kind of chunky knives is that Spyraco blades are a lot more purpose-built for my job, since their leaf-shaped tip has the perfect geometry that I specifically need to use for my business in 2025. So I mostly just pull up my Praetorian Tanto during weekends when I'm out of the office, and I need to carry a knife that I can trust with unexpected stuff, like prying or chopping. Essentially, I revert to the Medford every time I want to play Weekend Warrior. This is why the Spyraco Military 2 instantly became my most carried knife ever since I got it. The version that I have is a limited edition sprint run with S90V blade steel and fancy carbon fiber handle scales. I absolutely adore this large size Spyraco, and you can watch its review by clicking on this card. Thank you for sticking around all the way, and I'll see you in the next one.